I knew a fair bit of it, mainly because she came back with all these stories and full of excitement and just passion for what she'd been doing. And I sort of used to sit there as quite a sort of surprised little boy at the time.
The door
sort
was
of
already
taking
open, not wide, just enough. A sliver of darkness spilling out from a wall that was never supposed to have a door at all. Prince William stands in the lower corridor of Kensington Palace, still wearing his coat, still holding the small carved wooden box he came here tonight to return. His breath is steady. His face gives nothing away. But his eyes have stopped moving. They are locked on that sliver of darkness, and something deep in his chest has gone completely, dangerously still. He has walked this corridor 100 times, maybe more. He knows every painting, every light fixture, every crack in the plaster that the restoration team keeps promising to fix. He knows this wall, and there has never, not once in his entire life, been a door here. But there is one now, and it is open, and the smell coming from behind it is the smell of old paper, candle wax, and something else he cannot name. Something that feels against all reason, like memory. If you have ever watched a man stand at the edge of a decision that will change everything, this is that moment. William does not call his security detail. He does not reach for his phone. He takes one slow step forward, and then another, and then he pushes the door open with the flat of his hand. What he finds on the other side of that wall will not just shake the British monarchy. It will shatter the version of his life he has spent 30 years believing was the truth. Hi, viewers. Before we go any further, I have to ask you something personal. If you discovered that someone you loved had been hiding the truth from you for over 20 years, would you want to know? Or would you rather keep the peace? Drop your answer in the comments right now. And if stories like this one keep you up at night the way they keep us up, please subscribe, hit the like button, and share this with someone who needs to see it. We drop content like this every week, and you do not want to miss what is coming next. The palace has controlled its story for centuries, managed the image, buried the noise, smiled for the cameras while the real decisions were made in rooms the public never knew existed. And for decades, that system worked. Until the night William found the vault. Until the night Diana's silence finally ended. What is about to unfold is a story about power, loyalty, betrayal, and one son who had to choose between the crown he was born to carry and the mother he was never allowed to fully grieve. But here is what nobody inside those palace walls expected. The vault was not locked. Diana had left it open. And that single detail, that one deliberate, impossible choice, tells you everything you need to know about what she intended to happen next. William's hand finds the light switch. One bulb, bare, hanging from a cord above a room no larger than a walk-in closet. And in that pale yellow light, he sees it. A single iron shelf unit, bolted to the stone wall. On it, leather-bound journals, 7 of them, each one sealed with a thin red ribbon tied in a knot that nobody has touched in years. Beside the journals, a flat tin box, the kind used for legal documents. And on top of that box, a single envelope with 2 words written in handwriting William recognizes immediately. Handwriting that stops the air in his lungs cold. For William. Always. He does not open the envelope yet. He stands there for a full minute, maybe longer, just looking. Because he already understands, even before he reads a single word, that this room was built with intention. This was not a forgotten storage space. This was not a clerical error or a locked room that somebody lost the key to decades ago. Every object in here was placed, deliberately, carefully, by someone who knew exactly what she was doing and exactly how long it would take for the right person to find it. Multiple palace sources confirm that the vault had been commissioned in secret, paid for through a private account that existed entirely outside royal financial oversight. No palace administrator had access. No royal accountant had a record. The work was done quietly over 3 weeks in the summer of 1996 by a small crew hired through a private contractor based outside London. They were paid in cash. They were never contacted again. The vault contained more than memories. Inside the tin box alone were 14 pages of handwritten documentation. Names, dates, specific conversations recorded with a level of detail that only someone who lived inside the institution could produce. There were 3 audio cassettes, each one labeled only with a number. There were photographs, not family portraits, not public appearances, but private images of documents, of letters, of exchanges that were never meant to exist on paper at all, and tucked beneath everything else, folded twice, sealed in a clear sleeve. A single legal document dated August 14th, 1996, 13 months before Diana died. William picks it up, reads the top line, and his hand, for the first time since he walked into this corridor tonight, begins to shake. Because the document does not just contain her words, it contains his name, and it gives him a power that nobody inside Buckingham Palace even knows exists yet. But what that power actually means, and who it puts directly in his crosshairs, is something the palace will spend the next 72 hours desperately trying to contain. He reads the letter standing up. He does not sit down. He does not call anyone. For 11 minutes, palace security logs would later confirm the timestamp. Prince William stands alone in that cold stone room and reads every word his mother wrote to him before she died. The letter is not angry. That is the first thing that catches him off guard. He has spent 30 years preparing himself for anger, preparing to one day encounter whatever pain she had carried and never shown publicly. But Diana's words are not bitter. They are clear. They are precise. They are the words of a woman who had been watching the machine operate for years and had finally figured out exactly how it worked. She writes about decisions that were made without her knowledge, conversations she overheard that were never meant for her ears. A meeting held in the spring of 1995, attended by 4 senior palace officials and 2 outside legal representatives, where the primary agenda item was how to permanently limit her access to information about her own son's futures. She names every person in that room. She gives the date. She gives the location. She notes what each person said. Former royal staff recalled that in the years before her death, Diana had developed a quiet, almost methodical habit of documenting everything. Not for publication, not for a tell-all interview, but as protection. She told one trusted member of her personal team, a woman named Deja Monique Hargrove, who served as her private correspondence manager from 1994 to 1997, that the only way to survive inside an institution built on secrets was to keep better secrets than they did. William finishes the letter. He folds it exactly as it was folded when he found it, 3 creases left to right, and places it back inside the envelope. He turns off the single bulb. He steps back into the corridor. He pulls the door almost shut, leaving it exactly as he found it. Just that sliver of darkness. Just that thin line of shadow. He walks back to his car alone. His driver later said he did not speak for the entire 40-minute journey back. He sat with the carved wooden box on his lap, staring at nothing, and when they pulled up to his private residence, he thanked the driver by name, which was unusual, and went inside without looking back. 3 people inside the palace would receive calls within the next 6 hours. Not from William, from someone watching the security feed who had noticed the corridor door. And those 3 phone calls would set into motion a counter-operation so fast, so coordinated, that it could only mean one thing. They had been waiting for this moment. They had known the vault existed, and they had a plan ready for exactly this situation. The only thing they had not accounted for was what William had already read. Camilla does not panic. She never panics. Panic is for people who have not spent decades maneuvering inside a system that runs on control, access, and the careful distribution of information. She receives the call at 11:47 at night. She listens for 90 seconds without saying a single word, and then she says, quietly and without any visible urgency, "Get Aldrich on the phone." Reginald Aldrich has served the royal household for 31 years. He carries no official title in any public document. His name does not appear on any press release, any staff directory, or any palace organizational chart available to the public. But every senior aide, every long-serving courtier, and every person who has ever needed something made to go away inside those walls knows exactly who Reginald Aldrich is and exactly what he is capable of. Within 40 minutes of that first call, 3 things happen simultaneously. A palace legal consultant named Priscilla Wentworth Cole is contacted at her private home and told to begin drafting a document suppression framework, a legal structure designed to prevent unauthorized disclosure of materials found on royal property. A senior communications officer is briefed and instructed to prepare 2 separate holding statements, one for internal circulation and one for press use, both carefully worded to say nothing while appearing to address everything, and a woman named Vivienne Rochelle Dupree, who had worked as a senior royal archivist for 19 years and who was one of the 4 people on Earth who knew the vault existed, is called at her private residence at 12:22 in the morning. She is asked a single question. Did she tell him where to find it? She says no. The line goes silent for 3 seconds. Then the caller says, "Make sure that answer does not change," and hangs up. Vivian sits in her kitchen for a long time after that call ends. She does not go back to bed. She makes a cup of tea. She does not drink. And she stares at the wall and she thinks about a conversation she had with Diana in the summer of 1996. A conversation where Diana told her, with a calm that felt at the time almost unsettling, that she had put everything in order, that when the time came, the right person would find what needed to be found, and that nobody would be able to stop what happened next. Back in the palace, the machinery is already running. Aldrich has mapped the situation into 4 containment priorities, listed in order of urgency on a single typed sheet that will be destroyed before morning. The vault's legal status, William's psychological state, the contents chain of custody, and the one variable nobody can fully control, what William has already decided to do with what he read. Because here is what Aldrich does not yet know, and here is what will keep Camilla awake long past the point when all her plans are in place. William had not just read the letter. He had read the legal document in the tin box. He had read Clause 9. And Clause 9 does not just give him the right to speak. It makes him the only person in the world who legally cannot be silenced. But who put Clause 9 in that vault, and who else knew it was there, is a secret that is about to tear the palace's inner circle completely apart. William does not sleep. He sits in the leather chair by the window in his private study, the carved wooden box open on the desk in front of him, and he reads Clause 9 4 more times. Not because he does not understand it, but because understanding it and believing it are 2 completely different things. The document is real. He knows it is real. The signature at the bottom, witnessed by a solicitor whose name he recognizes, dated and stamped with the kind of formal legal precision that cannot be faked, tells him everything he needs to know about how serious Diana was when she created this. She did not write a letter and hope for the best. She built a legal instrument. She filed it outside the royal system entirely, through a private solicitor with no palace connection, and she named her 14-year-old son as its sole executor. She trusted him with this before he was old enough to drive, before he understood what the monarchy really was, before he had sat through enough private briefings and closed-door meetings to know the difference between the public face of the crown and the private reality of the institution that wears it. She trusted him with the truth before the system had finished teaching him to be afraid of it. And that thought, that single, crushing, completely undeniable thought, is what breaks through every wall he has built around his feelings for the last 30 years. He is not angry. He is not afraid. He is something harder to name and far more powerful than either of those things. He is resolved, but resolution and action are not the same thing. William knows what the palace is already doing. He has been around long enough to recognize the architecture of a containment operation, the carefully worded statements being drafted right now, the legal motions being prepared, the quiet reassignments and strategic silences that will begin appearing within the next 48 hours. He has watched this machine work his entire life. He knows its speed. He knows its reach. He knows that if he moves too slowly or too openly, Clause 9 will be challenged in a private legal forum before a single word of Diana's documentation reaches anyone outside these walls. So he makes one phone call, not to a lawyer, not to a communications team, not to anyone inside the royal household or connected to it in any traceable way. He calls a woman named Tamara Elise Beaumont, a former investigative journalist turned private legal researcher who worked alongside Diana's personal solicitor in the mid-90s and who, according to one line buried deep in the vault's documentation, Diana had specifically trusted to serve as a secondary witness to Clause 9's execution. The phone rings twice. Tamara picks up. She does not say hello. She says, "I wondered how long it would take." And in those 7 words, William understands 2 things at once. First, he is not the only one who has been waiting for this night. Second, whatever comes next, he will not be walking into it alone. But who else Tamara has already been in contact with, and what they have been quietly building while the palace slept, is the piece of this story that nobody, not Aldrich, not Camilla, not a single senior courtier in that building, has even begun to see coming. And what William discovers next is even more shocking. In Part 2, we reveal the secret that could change the royal story forever. Don't miss it.